Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. I am here in Death Valley with Kenny Souza. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Now, if you don't know who Kenny Souza is, either you're hiding under a rock or you're Gen Z, or both. But that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's heard of this clown. But anyway, Kenny was a world champion and 9-time national champion duathlete back in the day. His heyday was the 1980s and 1990s, mostly mid-80s to mid-90s, is that right?
Yeah.
What we're gonna do here is talk about Kenny's life from the day he was born until today. And there's been a lot that's happened with this gentleman. So we're gonna get into a little bit of it. Joe Rogan, you can eat your heart out. We've got some non-sponsors here. This is a beautiful Yeti cup.
Yeah, we got our Yetis.
The coffee's pretty good tonight, isn't it, Kenny? Yeah. So.
Oh, and shout out to our boy Randall.
Yeah. Our boy Crandall.
Oh, stuff works great, Randall.
Yeah. What's it called?
WTHR.
Okay.
It's really good stuff.
We're not receiving any money or product from these people, so we're just giving a shout out. Kenny, let's start off with where were you born?
Downey, California.
Downey.
LA area, yeah.
Right. What were your parents like?
Both parents, they own bakeries.
Okay.
So I grew up in the bakery industry, yeah.
Were they pretty young when they...
Yeah, they had to be young, actually, yeah. I had 4 sisters. So, I was the only boy. So 5 kids, and my parents bought a bakery when I was in 5th grade. Yeah, in Hacienda Heights.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like living with 4 sisters?
Yeah, house full of women. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she had 4 sisters, so we were all 2 years apart, but then they had a family business, so we all, had to pitch in and work in a family business, yeah.
And would you classify yourself as billionaires or low class or somewhere in between, middle class, lower middle class?
Well, we had a house, so I don't know, it probably would be, middle class, I guess, or lower. I don't remember having a lot of money. That's all I remember. But, with 5 kids, it was just a mom and pop bakery, it was a small
So you're growing up with these sisters and you're working at the bakery, right?
Yeah.
Going to school just as a normal kid. And then was your childhood kind of a normal kid, just doing the kid stuff? Or was it different because you were working as a kid? Or
Yeah, kind of different. When I was really young, early, I had this autoimmune disease, so it was really bad. I was in a hospital, in and out as a young kid,
Like what ages?
Probably 2, 3, like months in a hospital, and it was an autoimmune disease or something I had. So a lot of stuff I don't remember, but I went to school early at 4 years old, 4.5 years old. Mom just wanted to probably get the kids out of the house. But just growing up, once my parents bought a bakery, it was just like work. We were all expected to, go in and, I swept floors and washed dishes, and I was 10 years old.
Right.
So.
But then you get a little older and you go off to grade school and you're going to school. How was school for you? You went in as a young, like a year?
Yeah, I struggled in school.
Yeah.
I did not like school all the way through. The only time I started enjoying school was in high school when I started running. And that was the first time first day of school, freshman year, when it changed my life, when I, discovered running.
Let's talk about that because we're moving ahead pretty quickly.
Yeah, okay.
There is a point in your life where you realize that you have a special gift as an athlete. And I think that happened in junior high?
Well,
or high school?
No, freshman year of high school, first day. Yeah,
So
first day of school.
Talk about what happened on that first day of high school.
Well, in junior high, they had the president's test that we all had to do, and it started when I was in 7th grade or 7th or 8th grade. But I remember doing it, and it was like you had to run for 12 minutes, push up, all the things you had to do. On the 12-minute test, I ran like 2.5 miles, and it was like, whoa, just like basically ran laps around everyone. And not till 2 years later, first day of school, high school, I was basically walking home.
Let me stop you for a minute there. So on the president's test, you ran this...
you had to do a 12-minute run, push-ups, sit-ups.
But what I want to understand is, had you been training or
zero?
Just
no, we're talking
just
like
off the couch.
No, this is like just a kid, hanging out. No video games back then in the 70s. Yeah, this was 1970. 76.
Yeah. So any fitness you had just stemmed from doing normal kid stuff.
Yeah, riding my bike, BMX bike back and forth to school, or my bike. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. And I did not do sports at all. Zero, no sport.
You do amazing in this 12-minute run, 2.5 miles or whatever it is. So then what happens after that?
Finished up junior high, junior high. And then my first day of school, freshman year, I was just basically went to school and I was walking home. One of my friends actually, he was like, hey, dude, that guy's really good. He can run. And his brother was a senior with 3 other seniors, and it was him. And I go, hey, man, we were just talking. He goes, hey, tryouts are for cross country right now. Let's go. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go home. I got to go to work. He goes, no, come on. So I thought I was going to get my butt kicked because there's 3 seniors and stuff. So they said, let's go. So I went and ended up finishing third place and made varsity team my freshman year. And that night I went home and I was like, wow, you know.
But that wasn't the normal course. Normally as a freshman, you go on the fresh soft team or...
Yeah, so, you know, usually when you're a freshman, you have fresh soft, and then you have JV, junior varsity, because if you're a junior or senior, and then there's varsity, which is...
So you skipped all that based on your
Skipped
physical,
all that
yeah.
straight up. It was like, you know, number 2 guy on the team.
Yeah.
They had no idea who I was. From there, I had to hurry home because I said, man, I got to go to work at my parents' bakery. I thought my dad was going to be pissed at me.
Yeah.
And then I got home and I said, hey, man, I made the cross-country team. Lo and behold, they had practice at 3:30 every day after school. So I'm like, I don't have to work.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes. So I'm like, I was awesome. And then I was good immediately. I mean, I was good right away. I mean, discovered, like, you know, started running, met people. It was fun.
So when you started going to meets and racing and competing, there was no disappointment. Everything went well.
Yeah, man. I was winning races. Like, who is this kid? You know, and I mean, I was not winning everything because there's, you know, seniors and good, but I was scoring all the points for the school, you know, basically, you know, as a freshman, you know, basically.
So you're a freshman now. You've got 3 more years of high school. Does this just continue as?
Oh yeah.
And do you get faster?
It gets better, you know. Then I go, oh, there's track season. That was the other thing. It's like, oh, cross country's over, and it's like November, you know. And I didn't make it to state or anything, but I made it, you know, CIFs and the next, you know, thing. So, you know, there's like an extra 4 more weeks of training that I have to go back to work.
Right. So and when this is going down, is there a point at which you realize you are ultra gifted or, you know, beyond?
No.
You just felt like, I'm pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, for me, it was like, I mean, I never did any kind of sports at all. So it was just fun for me, you know. And then, man, you know, the friends, awesome, you know, just going out for runs with friends and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now that reminds me, you just mentioned other sports back then, football, baseball, basketball, team sports. And were you ever interested in that or wanted to be recruited for that? Or
tried, but man, I have no hand coordination, man. I mean, I am terrible. I mean, yeah, as a child, I did, you know, Little League and soccer. Oh, I was actually okay in soccer. But no, anything that had to do with like throwing the ball or anything, I was like, no, you know. And then plus, come on, I'm 98 pounds, you know, probably 5'4", you know, in high school.
Yeah. So you found your calling, and
found it right away. And I mean, but it was like from day 1 of high school all the way through, it was just like a progression of getting better each year. Well, then there was track. I had no idea about track. So when track came around, I'm like, yes, I don't have to go to work again, because, you know, in the off season I had to go back to work, you know, after school.
In track, did you do distance stuff as well?
I did 800 mile, 2 mile. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did those 3 for 4 years straight, and ended up bringing like 4:16 in a mile for high school, which was okay. But I mean, I had no coaching. I mean, it was just, you know, the coaching were teachers, you know, so never really had any kind of like, you know, that I was just out there doing what they said, you know.
Where does the bike come in?
Well, biking, I used to just use it as a form of transportation back and forth to school, because I didn't live right down the street. We lived a couple of miles away, so it's either walk or ride. So, Nalu, come here. So
this is Nalu, by the way.
This is Nalu. Nalu's gonna knock the camera over. So I'd either run or ride, and that's kind of how the biking came. It was always a form of transportation, but I did like bike riding, yeah. But it was nothing formal.
But as you're using the bicycle for transportation, are you realizing, hey, I'm fast on the bike too, or is it?
No, it was just more going hard. You know, I mean, first it was BMX bikes, then it went right to like 10 speeds, you know, afterward, just to get around faster. But no, it was purely just, I'd ride really hard and fast. But I don't know what I was, I mean, I was just trying to get from point A to point B.
And then you finished high school, right?
Yeah, graduated high school in '82.
When you graduated from high school, are you starting to think, maybe I could make a living doing this?
You know, no. It was just, I mean, there were even no duathlon, biathlon back then it was called. There was nothing. There was triathlons, though.
Yeah.
So I saw triathlon, the Ironman, in February of '82, my senior year of high school, and I go, man, I want to do that. So when I graduated, I went to a JC. I still ran cross-country track for a junior college, but by then I was just, you know, running, biking, you know, just doing odd whatever, you know, I can do, but I was kind of going to college, living at home still. And then I started wanting to do triathlon, so I started riding my bike more seriously, and I was still running a little bit, you know, just here and there. And then from there I got better, kind of just hanging out on triathletes, but didn't do triathlons. And then when these duathlons came up, which was running and biking, I would do them and I'd win them, you know, back in the Southern California area.
Did you try swimming, or were you thinking about swimming?
I couldn't swim. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to do it. I remember, oh man, I did my first triathlon with no swimming. I think it was June Lake Triathlon in Mammoth. I was last out of the water, barely made it out. I mean, I was breaststroking the whole way. And then got on the bike and rocketed it and got on the run. I think I took top 10 overall, like 8th or something overall. And this was like 1984, you know, 85. Yeah. And then 85, Bob Babbitt got me swimming lessons in San Diego when I was down there. And I just didn't take to the water, you know. I mean, I love the water. I just didn't take to it, you know.
We want to be clear, back then it was called biathlon, but biathlon actually refers to the ski discipline, so they changed it to duathlon. Was that starting to be a thing?
Well, so triathlon, you know, in the 80s, well, it started in the 70s, but 80s was going up. I mean, crazy, you know, triathlon was just exploding. But duathlon was kind of like, oh, let's do it in the wintertime when the water's cold, so you can do run bike. And that's kind of how it was kind of almost started. But then afterwards, triathlon had the USTS series, which covered, you know, all the US. It was the US Triathlon Series. And then later, biathlon came out with the Coors Light Biathlon Series. And it was 10 races, you know, around the country, and they scored the points, and you had prize money.
Were those only in the wintertime, or they were?
No, they were year-round. So it kind of went up straight up. In 1988, well, the USTS's was back in like 84, 83, 84, till the late 80s. And then duathlons was 88, or no, 90s. And then duathlons was like 88, less than 5 years. So 88 till about
So
90s.
you're in your mid-20s now, in the late 80s, and there's duathlons are starting to become a thing. And are you doing well in those? Or
yeah. So I mean, when the Coors Light series came out, it was kind of a national series, so it was a platform, you know, that I was able to, you know, showcase. And I already had small sponsors, but they just started kicking up. So yeah, I mean, full on, had an agent, you know, sponsorship was kicking in. I was loving life, you know, just traveling around the U.S. and the world, starting to travel outside of the country. And I started enjoying it and just, you know, enjoyed the ride. Yeah.
There's a time when you started to become known for your look. Okay. So we have a lot of covers, magazine covers. You know, back then, you have to understand, if you're not from our generation, that we didn't have internet. So magazines were huge. Triathlete,
that's all there was.
Runner's World. What other ones were you?
Running and racing, triathlete, Runner's World, bicycling, Velo News.
All these magazines were huge.
Bicycling.
And Kenny had a look, and I'll describe it. But we're gonna let him. I'm gonna describe it. We're gonna let him talk about it. But Kenny had this rockstar, big hair, big mane of hair. Sponsored by Oakley, right?
Yeah, Oakley.
Oakley glasses, and back then he had the colored mirrors, which were kind of new. Were they kind of new?
Iridium? Iridium, yeah.
Yeah, iridium colored mirror lenses. And he would do the run in a day-glow Speedo.
French cut Speedo.
French cut
Speedo.
A day-glow French cut Speedo and no shirt. So he became this rock star athlete. And there's a lot of reasons to do that. One is to get the covers, and one is just because you like looking like that. And there's a lot of reasons, but I wanted you to talk about, how did that evolve? What were you thinking, and how did you end up looking like that?
Yeah. 85, when I did Ironman in 1985, I was sponsored by Nike, and they had a swim, bike, run series they came out with. So you swam in a Speedo, you had these cycling shorts you pulled over your Speedo, and then you took your cycling shorts and put these running shorts that went over, but none of them had linings in them. Your Speedo was your basic lining. You know, I just used what they gave me. So in the duathlon, I mean, you ran first, so I was in these running shorts with the Speedo underneath. Then you get in transition, take them off, put on your cycling shorts over your Speedo, put your shoes on and take off. I'm like, man, I got to cut these transitions down more, you know? So anyway, I jumped on the bike with the running shorts on, and I was riding in them, and it just flapping in the wind, and the crotch got caught in the seat thing when I was trying to sit back. And so I'm like, so the next race, I'm like, I'm just going to wear these Speedos under. I mean, I'm not wearing the cycling or any of that shit. I'm just wearing the Speedo because I'm just running. So who cares about the running shorts in the first run? And I looked in the race, and everyone had cycling, like tri-shorts, they called them at that time.
Yeah, with a little shorter than cycling.
But they're no chamois in them or anything, you know, or running shorts. And I remember seeing a photo, I'm like, oh my God, I'm the only one. The next event, half the field had Speedos on, or they had tri-shorts on, you know, one or the other. No running shorts.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like, oh man. And then I was no longer sponsored by Nike, and I got sponsored by Avia. So when I went to Avia, I'd always watch wrestling and all those guys, and they're like,
Hulk
Hulk
Hogan.
Hogan.
Yeah.
I know the Warrior had speed. I mean, he had
Yeah.
the Warrior
Stone Cold Steve
Stone
Austin.
Cold, but there's
Yeah.
guys, and I'm like, oh man, and wrestling is just, I'm like, man, you'll be a little entertainment to this sport. I mean, it's just like you're running, sitting there watching. So I started growing the hair out long. I got Avia to make me some custom uniforms, and I'm like, yeah, that'll work. And so, a couple, I'm like, yeah, that'll work fine.
When you say custom, you mean
like
the
French cut,
Yeah.
like, because I had to, like, ride in them still and run
Yeah.
in them still, but I didn't get one too crazy. And so I did it, and I remember the race I did, I was like, whoa, and I got some cover shots out of it. So
Yeah.
that was all the goal, is just
Yeah.
to get some cover shots. I mean, that
So
was my goal.
it was a combination of wanting to transition quicker and
just throw some entertainment into this
throw
sport.
some entertainment, and then you discovered this works.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I was like, right away. I mean, I got on, cover shots, and then Runner's World.
Yeah.
Eventually, Runner's World one put me on their cover.
Okay. So when we talk about the Kenny Souza fame during that era, how much of it was the look? I mean, was that a big part of it?
I mean, back then, I mean, who knows? It's like, look at the internet now or TikTok. I mean, someone goes something, then they go viral,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
back then you either had to get in a magazine, so you had to go somewhere to
Yeah,
get in a magazine.
yeah.
So,
But the results speak for themselves.
yeah,
But then there's
no.
also the look, and that helps because if you did well, you'd have a great inside photo inside the
Yeah.
magazine. But if you really look cool, you'll get the
Oh,
cover.
yeah, you'll get a cover shot. And
Yeah.
that was the thing, I mean, you're just, I mean, something to stand out,
So now you've got fame and fortune, you got covers, people are sponsoring you, people are talking to you, you're going around, everybody's paying attention to Kenny Souza. And then what happens with the ladies and marriage?
Oh man, well, you get married, buy houses, and you get divorced.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Basically, got married, bought houses, did good, had two kids, wonderful kids. Yeah, I mean, life takes its toll. You get older, races stopped, the Coors Light series went away, duathlon started going away. So triathlon started kind of picking up more, and duathlon just started tanking. So I started racing out of the country, Japan, Europe, Germany, Switzerland, and it was good. But I mean, it's a lot of traveling, with the young family.
So the sport of duathlon kind of started tanking.
Yeah, and it went overseas. I mean, it was overseas. It picked up.
Yeah.
Europe, other countries. I mean, you'd go there. The prize money was good, and then I was a little bit of a novelty. They'd bring me over and pay me appearance fees and take care of everything. Yeah. So I was making a living that way.
And becoming a swimmer was not an option.
Right? I mean, I was doing it, but I was like, I should have stuck with it, because there's a group of guys that were doing duathlons, but they saw but they were doing triathlons too. They were dabbling in both, but they realized you can't. I mean, you either got to. I mean, if you want to be the best, you got to pick one or the other.
But triathlon was huge back then.
Oh, it's still huge.
There were some names there, but I want you to talk about training with those guys and what that was like.
Well, the big four, I mean, it was Dave Scott, Mark Allen, Scott Tinley, and Scott Molina. And I mostly trained with Scott Molina or Mark Allen. Those are the two guys I trained with. Then Scott Tinley I trained a lot with. And Dave Scott, not too much with, mostly.
When you compare yourself with those guys on the bike or on the run, are you in the same league?
I'd shellac those guys.
Yeah.
No, those guys are legit.
Of course.
But no, but I mean, my numbers are right there, You
got the fame and fortune, you get married, you're not talking too much about that, but that's fine. And then you've got to transition to another career, and that's how Kenny and I met, actually.
Yeah.
And I'll just briefly say that it was 1998. I was marketing director at Clif Bar Company based in Berkeley at the time. We were putting together a field rep program, and I got Kenny's name, I think, through another sales guy there, Pat Flanagan, I think. And I hired Kenny in 1998 to be a field rep. You're still racing, but the racing is going down, but you're thinking you need to transition to an adult career or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, oh man. I mean, as you get old, I was just chasing the dollar, I mean, that's after a while, I mean, the joy of sports, all that stuff just goes away, I mean, we're talking about a small niche sport too.
Yeah.
So after a while, it's like, you're just doing the math and like, I can't go to that race. I'm not going to make money. So after a while, it's like, start looking for a job.
Yeah. But when you say you're chasing the money, it wasn't so much to get rich.
No, it's just pay bills.
Survive.
I mean, paying a mortgage, I mean, I have 2 kids, mortgage, car payment.
Okay, folks, we had to do a little bit of a changeroo. Sun's going down, but we're still talking. So, Kenny, we're at the point where you get hired for Clif Bar. Word gets to me through Bob Babbitt, whatever, Pat Flanagan to me. I fly to LA, we hire you. So what was that like as a field rep, changing over from an athlete? Was that a struggle, or was it okay, or was it fun, or was it a good change? Or
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to have a job, you know, and it was good because I needed a job. Sponsorship money was running out, and it was great because at the beginning, after I got the job at Clif Bar, I was around events still. So instead of racing people, I'm serving them bars. So, but everyone, you know, the community is great. You know, everyone came up like, man, you know, good to see you there, and you know, the events were good. And I was, you know, Southern Cal rep, so I knew everybody, you know, and it wasn't as hard as it could be, you know, to dive in and work, because I know a lot of those other guys became coaches, you know, like Dave Scott became, you know, his coach, you know, Mark Allen's a coach, you know, Tim Lee, he's a teacher, went to teaching, and Melina tried coaching, you know, and moved to New Zealand. So all those guys, you know, they didn't make a lot of money, you know, they're all just working too, you know. And so that whole era, you realize, oh man, you know.
I'm going to back up here. You're getting covers on magazines. You're literally a rock star. And now you're transitioning to something that's maybe just a working stiff. Is that mentally, is that?
I made a good living, but I never made like the great living. Like, you know, these guys, they made a little bit more money, or they made more money than I did, but I was always smart and buying some real estate with mine. But getting back to I mean, it was a normal job. I mean, I made more as an athlete, but I'm like, I knew I had to start somewhere, you know.
Yeah. So you're okay with that?
No, I was okay. I mean, it would literally, like, I got to start paying my bills in the next 6 months. So, you know, I had money enough away, but it's like, hey, if you don't get a job, you know, I mean, these bills are going to start piling up.
Well, that's one thing, you know, because what I'm thinking about is, you know, when you're a superstar athlete, a lot of athletes have trouble getting back to their life, or they just blow all their money.
Oh yeah.
But one thing is that you're in a sport where it's not like a NFL or an NBA player making, you know, hundreds of millions.
No, it's like if you're smart and you save up to buy a house, great, and that's what I did, you know. I get a house, you know, the whole bit, and but no, I mean, and again, you know, just I knew eventually that what I did as an athlete would have led to some kind of job, you know. I mean, I always knew that. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to retire off duathlons. That was never the plan. The plan was, you know, it was a platform, you know. I mean, it was. I mean, I was young. I did. I made money at it. It was great. And then I took some risk, you know, but it's like.
Back in that time, was it more lucrative to be a triathlete versus a duathlete?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Right? Yeah, always. Yeah. Duathlon, I mean, I think I was probably like the only person making a living in the U.S. I mean, pretty one person. It was me. There was guys following the circuit, but they had small sponsorship. You know, they all had like there ended up being a core group that were making a living off it in the U.S. for a couple of years when the Coors Light Series was there. Yeah.
So it's a long career at Clif Bar. How long?
Yeah, 23 years. I lasted.
That's a long time, 23 years.
Yeah, it's the same job, man.
Same job. Are you still like into it, or are you just kind of going through the motions, or does it probably gets easier because you know what you're doing, right? Being a rep for 23 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, once I knew, well, you know Clif Bars, both of us know. But after a while, it's like, you know, I like the job. I mean, I worked from home. I lived in San Diego. I didn't really want to move up to the Bay Area to the, you know, home office. If I really wanted to climb the ladder, and I was happy. I was content, and I was able to I still had my freedom. I mean, I still raced. I dabbled here and there. I still had sponsorship on the side. So, I was, you know, the job was stable. It was great, but I was still, with, you know, what I did, I was still able to carry some other sponsorship deals and stuff.
Yeah, well, one of the things you mentioned, and I think this is important, is, you know, it's not like you were an athlete and then you went into a, you know, insurance salesman job.
No.
You were still in the sports industry, and that's something that I think made you function well or be.
Oh, it saved me.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I totally see how those athletes, you go from being here, then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're waiting tables. I mean, that's literally what it was. You know, I'm racing, and then I'm serving people bars at a 10 by 10. Yeah. But I'm fine with it, you know, because it's a great company. It was it's a cool company too, you know. I mean, it was emerging and it was good. But no, it was good. But I mean, you know, it had its challenges. I mean, you know, it's a job, so I mean, you can't screw up, you know, and you got to do your job.
And there's also a corporate structure.
Oh yeah, there's corporate structure, and you learn that. And again, you know, I didn't go to college, you know, or JC, but you know, still. So when you start learning that, and you know, and so I learned quickly, and I weaved it. I mean, I knew this company was going to last a long time for a while, and I lasted till the 20.
So you're not quite to retirement age. And I don't want to dwell on this too much because it's not that important, but there's changes at the company. Talk about what happened and where you were in your career and what your expectations were.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, after you left, you were there, what? Fuck, how many years?
13 years.
13 years, yeah. So after you left, I mean, the growth was just like, you know, every year, and just so you knew it. So, I mean, you just saw the growth. So they were hiring people like, what direction are we going to go? You know, I mean, that's what I felt where I was at. And there were no promotions in field marketing, I mean, for a long time. Finally, when there was, it was like the group created a regional manager. And I'm like, I don't want any part of it. I'm going to stay where I'm at and just keep the same job because I had it dialed, you know. I mean, I live in San Diego. Come on, great weather. My territory was Hawaii, San Diego, and Arizona. Yeah. I mean, come on. So I, you know, evolved, stayed there, but, you know, just the ups and downs of the company until they finally sold. You know.
So what happened in the selling and how?
Well, COVID hit. You know, when COVID hit, actually, we got shut down in the field right away. Yeah. There's no events, nothing to do, and they had to figure it out. So,
but I think you mentioned to me that in a way that was a good thing because it was kind of easier for you because you had to do stuff. You were still doing stuff, but you were doing just sending product here and there.
We had to be creative. So wherever, like golf courses, for example, you know, we never went to golf much, but the golf courses were allowing people to play golf during COVID. So we started pivoting towards golf courses in the field and just going to golf courses and said, hey, do you want to hand a bar to every guy? I mean, because they're like, here, it's a free snack. But we impacted the concession stands sales. So they're like, you know, you're getting a free bar, but we want these guys to buy beer and hot dogs. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, you're getting all that stuff. But anyway, but, you know, we did for a year, and then they brought a new CEO in, and then they gutted the company and sold it.
So was the purpose of the CEO to prepare it for sale, do you think?
You know what? I was field marketing, same job. I mean, I thought like, oh, okay, you know, I knew something had to happen, you know, because, you know, with COVID hitting and sales were kind of like already dipping back before COVID. And when the CEO left and they were bringing a new one in, I mean, I know they just bring their people in. And yeah, it just got like, wow, I mean, writing was kind of on the wall for about a year, you know, like, okay, something's happening here.
So you started to figure out that.
Oh yeah, it's like, it's coming.
But you at this point, you don't know that the field program's going to be dropped.
No, I mean, it's just like, with COVID, the Zoom came in, you know. Yeah. So it's like, hey, we're having a call February 26, 2022 or 2021, and they're like, you either got a job or you're gone, and that was it. You're gone.
So employees were informed that there's going to be a big.
Oh yeah. You just basically got on a Zoom call, and you're like, if you're on the Zoom call, you're gone. If you're not, you survived. Yeah. But I mean, it was pretty much.
Okay, so that was it. So let's just leave Clif Bar behind.
Clif's gone.
So now it's Kenny. Kenny's in. Do you want to find another job, or you just kind of working?
No. So, you know, once that happened, I mean, you know, it was great severance pack. I mean, I was there so long, you know. Yeah. I mean, it was just, you know, I was there.
This normal severance is 2 weeks for every year, so you're there 23 years, so that's 56. That's over a year.
I got over a year. Yeah. I got over a year's salary, health insurance for a year. I mean, you know, they took care of us. You know, it wasn't like, here, you guys are gone.
But are you thinking I got to find another job?
At the beginning, I'm like, okay, I'm 56 years old. You know, 56. You know, I'm like, okay, I got 3. You know, I knew I didn't want to work till 60. You know, with the job, because, you know, I'd already been accumulating retirement for the last 20 years. So I mean, I'm like, okay, I knew I was on track to like this one doing. And I'm like, you know what, man, I mean, COVID was still there. There was no jobs available, and plus events just like tanked. I mean, every event. So I just kind of like, you know, just hung out, and I said, you know what, on this way, I did nothing for 10 years. So I went from like 140 pounds to 230 pounds. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to change my life, lose weight, and I lost 70 pounds in the last, 2 years, and just concentrated on me. Right. And I said, I'm not working. I don't want to work. I'm retired. I'm done. I don't care. I don't care if I have to drive a piece of shit Honda Element for the rest of my life.
That's not a piece of shit.
It's not a piece of shit, but I'm just like, I'm not going back to work. I'm done,
Oh, so what you're saying is you're going to adjust your lifestyle to accommodate your financial situation.
But in that time, I knew I was financially in order. ordered. You know,
your ducks were in a row.
My ducks were in.
Yeah.
You know, I got a rental.
So,
I had a, you know, I have a rental income coming in. It's passive. You know, mortgage is 2.7%. You know, small more. I mean, I own everything. So I'm done.
And how old are you today?
I just turned 60. Well, I'm 60 years old, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's life like for Kenny Souza going forward at 60?
I can't wait. I mean, I'm losing 15 more pounds. I'm going to get down more weight, you know, just in the journey. And doing more of this, man. I had a week with you. It's like, this is, you know, jonesing for like 2 years watching your stuff, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know?
Just to be clear, Kenny's seen my videos and been watching the stuff I do, and he's occasionally said, hey, you know, that looks good. I'd like to do that.
Oh.
And so here we are. We took a week. We've been in Death Valley. We've been all over the place. I'm trying to show him some sites. We've
been awesome.
Having a great time. This is one of my favorite camping sites, this Echo Canyon, and I actually did a video on this Echo Canyon. You can check that out.
Sweet.
But I think we're up to date now. I think
life's good.
Kenny's planning on just.
I'm going to buy a new van. I'm going to get a van.
He's going to get a van.
A trail.
The
Ford Trail Transit.
Yeah. So we're he's going to do that, and we hopefully are going to be doing some more camping together. This has been fun, and I just want to thank you all for coming along and getting to know Kenny a little bit. He's had an amazing career. I've always been fascinated with him, and it's really a pleasure to hear him talk about the various stages. There's some off-camera stuff that you haven't heard, but you know, we got to.
Well, we did get. Well, that one lady was bad. Remember the cussing?
Oh,
the wind does carry.
Well, Kenny is. Well, we were camping at this place, and there was shall we call her a Karen? People, and that's why the place like this is just unbelievable. We can camp here and talk, and if we choose to swear, Nalu's probably not going to object. But anyway, we're rambling on here. Just want to thank Kenny for coming along for this interview, and I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something about Kenny.
He's crazy.
He should be a household name if he isn't already.
Yeah.
So until next time.
Drink up, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers. Dude, that's awesome. I love it.